Good day, or good evening. My name is John Carter, and this is my cohort, Aerith. I'm taking care of her because the wife is sleeping. I understand that this world is moving really fast. There's overthrows going on in a couple countries, and ours is probably not too far off. But all is not lost. Biden's most likely going to crash the economy. We're seeing a lot of bills passed that were passed prior to the 2008 2007 economic crisis, and the stock market is in one gigantic bubble. It is essentially impossible for the stock market to be increasing when there is no economy. That's completely impossible by all real metrics. So, this is most likely lots and lots of quantitative easing. Anyways, do not despair. There is indeed hope. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult than we'd like. Now, where do we go? There are two basic fates that America is going to go through, and what we as individuals can do to help our current situation. One, the tyranny takes over and crushes the monetary system, and it brings massive suffering, and most likely we go back into federalism. That is the system of government we had prior to the Civil War, at least the American Civil War. This is most likely going to be the case because local governments can do things in a lot faster way than a federal government, and once the monetary system breaks apart, there will be no allegiance to the federal government, because how can you have allegiance to something that doesn't pay you, doesn't have any real value in and of itself? The states themselves have value, and that's where at least most people, who's actually looking at these things, they know that this is where it's headed. Now, there is an option that we can do, which makes it less painful for you, me, and, well, all those yet to grow up in the world. And that is, we can prepare for when the tyranny inevitably takes over, because it's going to happen. These people are religious zealots. I know. The people are religious zealots, and they're on a crusade. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There are very wealthy, crazy people who are doing their very best to destroy the country. And not only our country, but just about every country. And I'm not smart enough, or maybe I just, obviously I'm not in the hubbub with these individuals, but there is really no future that they seek. And if they don't seek a future, then they don't care about what happens, which is the most terrifying thing. There is, I guess, a way for us to prevent our own suffering while they eat each other. And they're doing this by essentially devaluing all of our currency. What this is going to do is it's going to skyrocket just about everything you could imagine, from milk to gas to houses, gold, especially tangible assets, gold, firearms, ammunition. I was speaking to my father just the other day, and he reloads ammunition. He said that primers had went from about $3 a bag to about 20, and that's insane. That's, 600% or more increase in just 6 months? And this is just because there is no more ammunition. There are no more firearms that can be sold. The manufacturers cannot make enough because people, and I don't know if this is like animals, where we instinctively know something bad is going to happen. Because people like myself, my father, and a lot of these prepper kind of folk, they've been prepared for a long time. So this is not the preppers that are doing this. They've already had years and years of food, years of water, all that other kind of jazz, and they live out in the middle of, nowhere. And they're fine. Whatever happens, they're okay. So this is everybody else. This is the moderates. This is essentially anyone else who's just waking up to the terror of the situation. And this is why. We have nearly $28 trillion in national debt. And each person, get this, each person owes over $80,000. Every citizen. That means my little daughter that just was born approximately 5 months ago is now $80,000 in debt. And now each and every taxpayer, like myself, most likely like you, we're nearly $250,000 in debt. Now let's go back. This is the amount per taxpayer. And this is per citizen, because not all citizens pay taxes. Obviously, you have old people and so forth, and they're retirees and whatever, and also young people like her. But for everybody else, $250,000. I don't know about you, but I don't have $250,000. So it seems like we're up shit creek. Now, this is how the government fixes debt. And this is why it's going to be so damaging to people like myself, or most likely like you, who don't have a large company or lots of stock or something of that nature that will kind of be stable in inflation. Because regardless of what the dollar is worth, a stock is just going to increase in value in proportion to the dollar devaluing. Same thing with gold. Same thing with a lot of hard assets. Now, what the government does is they print money, which does a couple things. One, it devalues the dollar so that the overall value to which they owe either the World Bank, the IMF, whatever you want to, other countries, it decreases overall because the cost or the value of a dollar decreases. Makes it simple, right? And what this does is it either forces you to participate in the stock market or into like ETFs or something like that where you're buying some kind of asset, or you just lose wealth. If you had $1 million in the bank, after 30 years it's going to be worth 900,000, maybe 800,000, 700,000, depending on the rate of inflation. I mean, inflation's been picking up. It's kind of a joke, but printer go burr. It's, that's your typical politician who has no idea what they're doing, and they're just printing money because it's the only thing they know how to do, and it's what we've given the ability to do. We've given these fools the ability to control our lives instead of the other way around. Now, to last this out, because this will be over, the system will eventually stabilize after, the country goes bankrupt. The easiest thing for you to do at your level, at my level, we're not Elon Musk, we're not Jeff Bezos. We can't buy a small country and just say screw it all. We need to prepare for the future. And there are a couple different ways to do this because of the devaluation of currency. You can buy gold, and I would suggest buying a little bit every paycheck. Obviously not an ounce, because an ounce is $3,000 almost now, or it's projected to hit about $5 soon. But I never trust any of that stuff. Silver is a lot easier for you to pick up. It's cheap. It's used in all kinds of it's used in all kinds of computing. It's used in, I think, just about every kind of technology. And tradable goods, such as firearms, which are almost non-existent now because, bad times are coming. Ammo, same. Clothing and other basically desirable goods. Not Prada, not something that's unnecessary. Backpacks, very necessary. Clothing, keeping warm, and so forth. And if you're into the prepping thing, of course, water and blah 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 blah. They just it won't hurt. Now, overturning the MMT is essentially what will happen at the end of all of this, because there will be a lot of pain, there will be a lot of suffering, and there's not a lot of ways out of this. There really isn't. We've dug our grave very deep, or we've dug our hole very deep, and now we have to. Sorry, folks. She's just learning to speak, and we need to slowly crawl out of it. That's all there is. There is no fast way out of this. It's taken us a little bit over 100 years to get in this hole. It's going to take probably about half that to get out. And there really is no easy way to do it. It's just us slowly making our way out. And MMT means Modern Monetary Theory. And this is accompanied with Keynesian economics. I'm probably not saying that properly, but it's a style of economics that abuses the poor or the least knowledgeable about money and places those, either the central bank or the Congress or what have you, at an unparalleled advantage. Like, they cannot lose. Like, if you look at these central banks, they cannot fail. Like, it's not a normal business. Under no circumstances can the thing fail. And I think that that's, without a doubt, a terrifying thing. And last time I looked up, the Central Bank of Japan owns like 80% of their stock market. I mean, it's some astronomical number like that. So these businesses, supposedly, that are supposed to work in tandem with that of the government, own nearly everything. And that's terrifying. How did something that cannot fail, which is supposed to be regulated by and for the people, to where they own 80% of the economy of the country? Just something to think about. And again, this is part one of moving forward. There is a tomorrow. There will always be a tomorrow. Don't worry about it too much, because it's going to be an interesting, really long road. Take care, and I'll see you again tomorrow.